My name is Rory Macmillan. I'm a digital media production student, a guitarist, an appalling public speaker, and for the next year or so, I guess I'm going to be an independent filmmaker of sorts. Film has always been extremely important to me, ever since I was a child when I first started reading, and then I grew up in the 90s at the tail end of the Disney Renaissance. I've always enjoyed action films, adventure, occasional romantic films, comedies. It's always been a welcome escape, and I suppose supplement to real life, and I think that's true of everyone. And, every child, when you go through the phases, you want to be a cowboy, a spaceman, probably want to be a villain at some point, but I think every kid when they're growing up wants to be a filmmaker at some point. They'll see a film and they'll go, you know what, I'd like to make one of those. The first films I made were a couple of music videos I made in my A-levels, shot on a Sony Handycam and edited in iMovie. They were pretty atrocious in retrospect, but they were a lot of fun to make, and I guess back then I tried to look at things a little bit differently. I always tried to add quite a lot of production value, whether it was making dollies out of table trolleys, or riding on the back of a motorbike whilst filming. All these sort of things that, no motorbike helmet, no insurance, but a lot of fun. My original background comes from sound and edit. When making the music videos, probably the most enjoyable part for me was on the editing floor. But ever since then, I've also developed a keen interest in cinematography and photography. The origins of Black Knight probably go back about 5 years. An original idea for a comic I had when I was much younger. I can neither draw nor write particularly well, so I tried to shelve that idea for later on, and now in the third year of university it gave me the perfect opportunity to take this idea and try to develop it. Back in 2010 I first discovered the Japanese animations, which are commonly known as anime, and it's a big niche that is no longer a niche almost within what I guess we could call geek subculture, which I like to associate myself with. And the real turning point was the Neon Genesis Evangelion series. An incredibly successful series. Neon Genesis Evangelion deals with a combination of different themes. For many Western audiences seeing anime for the first time, they might assume it's for children, but scrape beneath the surface, just watch half an hour and you'll see that there's a layer of depth and gratuitous maturity to it that I suppose many people wouldn't associate with it. Neon Genesis Evangelion, or Evangelion as it's known, deals with quite a few deep themes. It discusses religion and the end of the world apocalyptic themes. It deals with introspective personalities and repression, I guess, of yourself, not by anyone else, but done by yourself. And looking at that, I realized there was a level of depth to anything that you could make, really, any form of art or media that transcended both visual style and what people would associate with what you're doing. This is not an art film. It's not experimental. It's not pushing any particular boundaries. But what it is trying to do is it's trying to tell a story. It's trying to tell the story of one girl and how she discovers herself. Even though the palette and the canvas are science fiction, the film itself is a human story. While it certainly is possible to be original in the 21st century, I think at our level, as a student, it's very important to try and be creative, to just create, and certainly be critical of yourself and try and grow from your work. But at the same time, so many productions produced by friends of mine, by people I've seen, by myself, have died long before they reach fruition simply because of an over-aware sense of originality and the lack of it in your own work. And I think part of the growth of a filmmaker is to acknowledge that, yes, your idea probably isn't original. Your shooting style isn't original. Your visual style isn't original. What the audience sees, they will have seen before in some shape or form. But what's important is that you made it, is that you created it, and that it's something that you're proud of. And with this film, I really wanted to be proud of it. As it's my third year of digital media production, and it's quite possibly my last year in education ever, I really wanted to go out with a bang. I wanted to go out in glory, either succeed in glory or to go down in flames, at least having tried. And the film itself is a huge entity, but I'm going to do my best to try and nail it, to try and at least make people see the glorious failure, if it is a failure, and go, he tried. Those guys who worked on that film tried. And I think that is something that all great filmmakers have done. They have tried.